great. I'm in love.
Yeah,
I'm in love.
Andy's
I
fabulous.
really am. I have a big crush now. Yeah.
I had a huge crush on
Yeah,
him.
I have a big crush.
I gotta say, I still have a huge crush on him. And if this Cali guy thing doesn't work
Yeah,
out.
yeah, you're all about Andy, right? He does say like he likes girls with glasses.
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Although
he
I don't
does.
have mine on today.
So,
Where are your
but we
glasses?
didn't talk about
At
Robin
home.
Williams. That's you know,
It's
you know that old song that says "Smiling faces sometimes tell lies."
right.
It's so true because
Or the Send in the Clowns song, which is like the saddest song ever.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm really affected by this because Robin Williams, this is ridiculous. But Patch Adams, that movie,
oh yeah,
Patch Adams,
Patch Adams, uh-huh.
with Robin Williams, really, I was in a really dark place when that movie came out, and it really helped me not be in a dark
Oh
place.
wow,
It was really kind of weird watching this movie, and I was like, oh, okay, like life can be sad and funny, and it's okay to be sad and funny, because life does it. The whole teen gay thing going around right now, it gets better. Life does get better. I'm really really sad that Robin Williams made the decision to end his life. I mean, there's a lot of factors. It's not just that he was suffering from depression.
right.
He'd been
In the beginning
diagnosed with.
stages of Parkinson's disease.
Right.
Well, and Dr. Drew said that he had heart surgery not too long ago, a couple years, within a couple years, and he says it's a known fact that after heart surgery, many people go through a depression.
Yeah.
So he already had depression issues, and then the Parkinson's disease, and his TV show got canceled. It just kind of all multiplied, huh?
Yeah, and it's sad. It's really, really sad because Robin Williams was one of those people who was just absolutely amazing with everything he did.
Right.
I mean, the TV show got canceled, but that's because almost every new show that started last season got canceled.
Yes,
There's
you're right.
very few of them
Especially
are rolling
the
into
comedies,
second-
the
especially
half-hour
the
comedies. Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Yeah, there's very few of them rolling over into second seasons. A lot of them got canceled. And I don't think it had anything to do with Robin Williams
No.
because he was amazing in that show.
Right.
It was just
The show.
last season. Yeah, last season for 30-minute comedies is not
You're right.
not the season for it. Everybody wants hour-long dramas. Booyah.
Yeah, I hate the comedies. I hate the 30
I
minute
like
comedies.
some of them.
I don't watch any of them.
Not my favorite one's the Mindy Project.
I don't
Love
watch
it. It's like
any.
my
I don't watch
favorite
any
show.
30. Everything
New
I
Girl.
watch is the hour dramas.
I love New Girl.
Start earlier and watch the Mindy Project.
Yeah, I'll have
you
to-
Will, yeah, it'll be worth it. Trust me.
I'll have to
I
go
told
back
one
and
of my
watch it.
friends, Eve from the show, or friend of the show, not from the show, but and she finally, watched
them.
it, and she's like, "You were right. It's the best show."
I just want to fly home after the show and watch the series finale of True Blood. True Blood.
I started watching Dexter this weekend.
Oh God, I've been telling you to watch Dexter for years, girl.
So, but I am also at the same time I am watching 6 Feet Under. So I have
You're gonna get
That's
confused.
mine.
so
You're
I
gonna get
have
confused.
I have Michael C.
Don't
Hall
do
as
it.
the most amazing gay man ever, and then I also have him as the sexiest serial killer I've ever
You
seen.
can't do it. You can't.
No,
do
but
it.
I am. That's the thing. Like
you're gonna have such a hard time
How
with
far are
this.
you into 6 Feet Under?
I'm in the end of the third, beginning of the fourth season, so I'm almost done with
And
it.
how far are you into Dexter?
I just started season 2. I made the big mistake at lunch yesterday, and I had them put oil on my Subway sandwich, and so I spent the rest of the evening and the afternoon every 15 minutes just taking care of business. Like that Subway I was finishing when you showed up, right after you left, it was like shit through a goose, literally, just like salad shooter. It was terrible.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I spent the whole that's the my gallbladder, my phantom
Oh,
gallbladder.
that's right. That's right. That's right.
Coming back to
No,
haunt
just
me.
wait. Dexter gets pretty wild. I mean, it just.
Well, okay, so already in the first season, he almost got caught. And then now we're starting the second season. They found his body dump site. And I'm like,
I'm gonna tell you
seriously,
where it gets
Dexter?
good. Season 3 and 4.
Yeah. I'm watching this show and I'm watching all the blood and the gore and the serious mind fucking that's happening while he's killing people. And I'm like, I find this guy hilarious.
I find him hilarious and hot, and I want to be his friend. And he's killing people all over the place.
I'm like, I want to be your girlfriend, Dexter. Like, I want to be the one fucking you, and I want to be the one to be like, who'd you kill today, baby? Tell me all about it.
But doesn't his wife not know that he?
No, he doesn't know.
No, his girlfriend in the first Because I know he has a different girlfriend later.
At the end, there's a different girlfriend who
Right.
is also
Who's a serial killer, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know some things, but the girlfriend he starts out with, she
where's
has
the
no
wife?
idea. There is no wife.
She's not the wife yet.
There will be a wife.
Right. There will be a wife.
So he marries Rita?
You really want to know?
Well, I'm going to watch the show anyway.
Yes, he marries Rita.
Okay, so he does
Eventually,
marry
he
Rita.
marries Rita.
I was going to say, yeah.
Do you
eventually he
realize
marries
I never
Rita.
watched one episode of Dexter, but I could spoil the whole thing for you right now.
That's fine. I'll watch it anyway. Like, I know how 6 Feet Under goes. Everybody
But
talked
I'm
about
gonna
it
tell
when it was
you,
on.
when the series finale came of Dexter, they have so set this thing up. Now you're already at the point that you know that Dexter's father taught him the code.
Yes, Harry's Code. That's all he talks about.
Well, they've so set it up that Dexter could come back and teach his son the code.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm down with that. I've heard that they're talking about doing a Dexter spinoff.
Oh.
So, and
they
that's one
so
of the
could.
reasons I'm watching it, because everybody I know who watched Dexter, just like everybody I know who watched 6 Feet Under, all said, you need to watch this show. You will fall
Right.
in love with this show.
I will tell you, when you get to the end of 6 Feet Under, it is the best and most satisfying ending of a series. You know how you watch the series like, what is it, The Sopranos? Everyone hated the ending.
Yeah.
I
the
think
best
How I
ending
Met
to
Your
a
Mother-
series ever was House.
Yes, they literally.
House
I didn't
was
see
the
it. I stopped
best.
watching seasons in.
Oh,
They
it gave me, I
literally-
just got chills thinking about it.
Literally, House and Wilson ride off into the sunset. Literally.
On
they ride off
motorcycles.
into the sunset.
And the song that they are playing, I got chills thinking about it because it was just such an awesome ending to the show. And they play this song. My mom calls me and she's like, "What's that song? What's it?" And I find it, and it's like a big band song, but it talks about how you lived your life. And my mother had me printed out. She's like, "I want you to say this at my funeral." But it was just so
It's
yeah,
an
it
amazing,
was great.
an
It was
amazing ending. Well,
Well,
one
when
of
you
the
get to the end of 6 Feet Under, I want you to tell me because it's. I wouldn't go and say like, oh, it's best ending in the world. It's the most satisfying ending
that
to
makes
a
sense.
series.
okay.
They
Where
wrap it up.
They roll credits and you're like, I can move on with my life.
Right,
now.
I
I'm
hate.
never
You know which
worried.
one fucked me when they stopped?
Oh,
Deadwood,
yeah.
because they just
cut it.
They just
Well,
cut it.
Well, the way I understand it, they knew they were getting cut, and so they tried to wrap everything up in the last
But there was
episode.
so much going on.
There was just too much to do it with.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that you know
So-
what else? This is the last season of Boardwalk Empire.
I saw that. I logged in my HBO Go, and they're like, premiering the final season.
I'm like, well, how can they end this? Prohibition's still going on.
Yeah. Well, they usually bump like between seasons, like a year has passed or 2 years have passed between seasons. And so they'll probably, Prohibition didn't last very long. It was only, I don't know, I don't want to quote a number.
I don't know. Nucky's still in trouble, so you know.
How long did Prohibition last?
Oh, there we go, Siri.
Here we go. Siri's looking it up.
Okay, I found this on the web. For how long did Prohibition last?
Here we go. Prohibition on Wikipedia.
How long did it last?
Prohibition in the United States in place from 1920 to 1933.
That's 13 years.
That's not very long when you consider.
But the series hasn't gone through 13 years because little Teddy is still little. He's not
Yeah.
grown.
Well, we don't know yet. We haven't seen what the next season is like.
Season is gonna bring.
The next season could, start up like, and suddenly, like Nucky's getting a blowjob from his hookers again. Like,
But you know what I wonder about though? Have you noticed like when one series like on HBO and I know you don't watch a lot on Showtime or Stars, but every they like the characters, the people, they will show up on another HBO series. And so it makes me wonder if it's very similar like the old Hollywood contracts where they sound contracts with MGM or
it's what I call
Studios.
the sci-fi contract. Sci-fi didn't start this, but sci-fi perfected this, where if you signed on a show with sci-fi, there was an addendum in your contract that said that they had the right to write you into any other show they're producing.
Oh, really?
Or put you in a movie. And you have the right to refuse it, but you also have the right to have your contract ended if you refuse a role they offer you. Which is why all of us who are Stargate fans, which is nobody else in this room except for me.
Yeah, I've fallen asleep like minutes ago.
Who have watched other sci-fi shows, like Michael Judge shows up in them. That's Teal'c. That's the guy with the big sexy black man, and guy who plays Daniel Jackson. He's in a ton of Michael Shanks. He's in a ton of other sci-fi movies and shows. Like they all get written into other
HBO
shows.
does the exact same. So I'm waiting to see
Yeah.
where all these people from
Boardwalk Empire. end up.
Boardwalk Empire and well, I've already seen people from Boardwalk Empire popped up on other shows.
Yeah.
But I'm waiting to see from True Blood.
Mm,
True Blood.
fuck 'em.
Oh, they got to do something with the guy who plays Eric.
Okay, I'll admit
So
he's hot.
Hot.
I'll admit he's hot, but you know, Sookie
But he's hot.
Stackhouse.
He's hot as a vampire. He needs to be the vampire to be
Sookie
hot.
Stackhouse and the person who plays her. I'm sorry, but you have this pinched little face that I want to punch. Like
Be nice
she
to
looks.
Sookie. She can read your thoughts.
No, she can't. She looks like she's really got to poop all the time.
Oh, you're so funny.
And her face, like, so her face, your face is supposed to be evenly spread across the platform of your face, but her facial features are all pinched down into this
Anna
like little.
Paquin.
Yes.
And she's married to her co-star.
Yeah, she's married to her co-star.
have
They got
twins.
married after they met on the show. And he's got a British accent, but he talks with a southern vampire accent.
Everybody does that in Hollywood these days.
Oh, so
I
does my
House
brother.
did too. House has.
Oh, yeah, he's got a British
He has a
accent,
very,
too.
very thick accent.
So I also finally caught up on the final season of Sherlock. What else is?
Oh, Elementary.
No.
No, Sherlock?
Sherlock
I haven't watched
with
that one.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
I have
No?
no idea who Benedict Cumberbatch
Okay.
is.
He's an amazing. Okay,
I know what
well,
he looks like though.
yeah, he played Khan in Into Darkness, Star Trek Into Darkness. No, Parade's End, the miniseries on HBO.
Parade's End I watched.
Parade's End. He's Tejan. He's Captain Tejan.
Okay, I know who you're
The
talking about.
blonde guy who, you know, when he's with his wife, he's like the most sad man ever, and when he's with that poor peasant girl, he's just like the happiest
Happiest?
thing you've ever seen. Yeah, Tejan.
I seen Jamie Lannister in a movie yesterday.
Really?
Somebody had left one of the movie channels on my TV, and I look, and it's a movie called Mama, and it's a horror flick,
Yes.
and I'm like, oh my God, it's Jamie Lannister without an accent.
Yeah. That's fabulous.
I
I'm
had
so
never
excited.
seen him in anything else. He has a hand, by
All
the way, in
kinda-
that movie.
The Red List is coming back, or the
Oh,
Blacklist.
Blacklist.
Yeah,
I
the
can't wait.
Blacklist.
And you know
is
what
coming
else
back.
I love is I love Scandal and I love Person of Interest, and they're both coming back.
Yes, Person of Interest is coming back. Super excited about that. Scandal can blow me.
I like Elementary too. That one's on.
I've tried watching it. They have. Okay, so here's the difference between the UK version, which is Sherlock, which is
Oh,
very
okay.
much way more closely based on
Well,
the character in the books.
Well, they don't ever call Elementary that it's any part of the book.
No,
You
but
know.
if they're going to base it on the character, I would prefer them to take the personality of the character and make him more modern, which is what they did with Sherlock. Sherlock, instead of being although he tells everyone he's a high functioning sociopath, he's actually like Asperger's with a little bit of sociopathy, but whatever. The Sherlock in Elementary is just a drug addict, and he's an asshole. And
Well,
there's
he's
a
an asshole. Yeah, you're
there's
right.
a difference between being an asshole and being completely unaware of the fact that you have no social skills. And that is how Sherlock was in the books. He had no social skills. He understood he had no social skills, and he didn't really not that he didn't care that he didn't have social skills, but he didn't go out of his way to be an asshole. Unlike the Sherlock in Elementary,
Oh, he does go out of his way.
who
to be
goes
an
out of
asshole.
his way to be an asshole.
But I like him. I like the character.
You do
So.
know that that House, the series House, the characters of House and Wilson are based on
Yeah,
Sherlock and Watson.
Yes, I do
Yeah,
know that.
Holmes and Watson.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
So that's a
That's
fun little
what-
tidbit for you non-nerds
I
out
thought
there.
I had stopped watching it around the time. I believe it was Wilson was in an accident or something because of House.
Yeah, they drove through the front of
That
what's
was
her
like
name's
the
house.
Because he was up
that
on the
was like the
prescription
beginning of
pills.
season 1. It was the end of
no,
the end of the
no.
final second to the last season.
Yeah,
yeah.
And
it was
then
the
part
second
of
to
the
last,
it was at the beginning of the last season. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
part.
So
yeah.
before
right
Wilson got
before the end, I
cancer.
So
stopped
you didn't
watching.
know that Wilson got cancer.
I remember seeing something about it, but
And
I
House
wasn't watching
dies.
at that
Well,
time.
he faked his own death.
He
Yeah,
doesn't intend to fake his own death.
That's true.
It just happened, and he's like,
Happens.
I'm gonna go with it.
They
Everyone
all think
thinks
I'm
he's
dead.
dead.
So him and
Well,
Wilson.
well, his choice is either stay dead or go back to jail, and so He
Stay
decided to
dead.
stay dead, and
They
then
they could put House on end up at like in some country somewhere, like curing diseases and start a whole new series.
well, they could if they're going to go along with the whole, Holmes and Watson thing that they did with House and Wilson. Although Watson never really got sick and was like gonna die, Holmes does die in the series. I've read all the books, and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle killed Holmes off and had no intention of writing about him again, but everybody was so mad he killed him off that he
brought him back.
brought him back like 8 years later. And
well, they could definitely do that with House because he's.
oh yeah, they could do that with
the
House.
world
If
thinks that
they're-
he's dead. Yeah.
If they're gonna follow the House Wilson or the House Holmes, parallel, they could bring House back.
And that guy's such a good actor. People would so watch him on anything.
I would blow him. I think he's a great musician too.
Oh, he's a great piano player.
Oh yeah.
Now wait, you've
Blow
seen
him.
something really interesting on the internet we were talking about.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
pull
I
that up,
saved
Toxie.
it. I'm going to bring
Because
it back up.
it was somebody, and I'm gonna kind of paraphrase till you find it, but somebody was giving some eyes, some
Here-
family member had died. Is that
No,
it?
here it is. He's a gay teen, or was a gay teen, and he took his own life after being bullied. So, and it's pulling up as I'm talking here, but he donated or I can't talk. Penis in my mouth. Sorry. His organs were
Let me see.
donated: his heart, lungs, kidneys, and eyes. But because he's gay, they would not take his eyes.
Why wouldn't they take his eyes? Are they like spooging his
Yeah,
eye?
well,
Like
is there
what?
something different in the tissue of the eye, other than the other
That's
tissues
like one
they
of the
took?
easiest transplants to perform.
Right.
Created in response to the AIDS crisis of the 1980s, the FDA regulation deems ineligible any donations from men who have had sex with another man in the preceding 5 years. I can understand why the regulation was created over 30 years ago, but it no longer applies because they took his heart, they took his lungs, they took his liver, they took his kidney. Why couldn't they take his eyes?
You know what? Ask somebody who needs those eyes if they want them. Because I guarantee they're going to raise their hands and they
Somebody's
all want
gonna be
those
like, I
eyes.
don't give a fuck whose fairy ass eyes I'm
So-
getting. I just like to be able to see.
His organs were donated because vascular organ transplantation is regulated by the Health Resources and Service Administration, which does not ban gay men from donating. But eyes, like skin and bone, fall into the category of cells and tissues and therefore are regulated by the FDA. So it's the FDA who has that antiquated
Well, I think something needs to change.
law in place.
Look, if we can run a test and know whether or not there's anything, going to spread from this person, I don't. Whatever.
I agree. It's such ignorance to me.
Like, I understand the need for it back before testing was spot on and immediate, and
Right.
like you can buy a home AIDS test these days.
You can go down to the Gay and Lesbian Center here in Las Vegas and get an AIDS test that will be back in 20 minutes.
and it's an HIV/AIDS
yes.
test. It's
Now,
not just
if
AIDS.
you go,
it's
you could
HIV
also go
too.
there and get free tested for chlamydia, syphilis, and gonorrhea. It takes 10 days. But AIDS,
Right,
immediate.
yeah. Like, it's so ridiculous.
So, you know what? Somebody could have been seeing today, and because of somebody's ignorance, they're not.
Right.
And that's
well,
fucked
it's
up.
not just one person's ignorance. I mean, it's the whole
Right.
the FDA.
Well, and
so
it-
they're not
it-
updating or
Well, and it just makes me
updating those
wonder if
practices.
this is just a law on the books, and no one's
Like,
even
no
went.
spitting
and,
on
and
the
the actual
sidewalk.
thing.
Yeah, and
if
nobody's
you-
like gone and even attempted. In the meantime, all these eyes and tissue, skin is.
If you read
being
through
gone.
this, the mother couldn't say for sure whether her son had ever even had sex.
Because he was a teen,
Just-
right?
Right. So they had to err on the side of caution, and so she was really upset.
I don't
she
blame
said
her.
they came in right after he died. They need to know right away, and she would have liked to know that they wouldn't take his eyes. So.
Well, I'm just telling y'all, if I get into some horrific accident and I'm brain dead, take everything you can take off of me, give it to people who need it, and then burn me. I don't want a casket. I don't want a funeral. I want a cardboard box and a metal box full of flame. I don't.
See, and
need
I
any of
say,
that.
throw me in the ocean and let the sharks have a really nice feast after you take every organ you can use. Anything that's
Yeah.
viable on you
Take anything you want.
You aren't going to want my joints. You probably won't want my liver.
You certainly don't want my eyes, because my astigmatism is getting so bad that I'm sure shit's all fucked up in
But
there
I have
now.
a lot of skin. You take all that. I have
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of skin.
I have really, really bad eyes. Really bad. Like I'm blind without it. But I put on my friend's glasses today and I found out she's even more blind than I am. And I never thought it was possible. I'm like, anyone a little bit worse off than me, has a cane because I'm really bad.
That's wild.
So
Yeah.
yeah, they wouldn't want my eyes either.
Yeah,
But
no,
my
they can take-
ass, if someone needs an ass transplant,
or skin. They want the skin
What?
off
If
your
they
ass
want
for
my
burn
ass
for burn
skin, yeah,
burn patients. Yeah, I'm the
absolutely.
same way. Whatever
yeah.
you want,
scoop
take.
that shit
Take
off.
whatever you can and keep it, and then burn the rest of me. And nobody gets to keep any of my. No one gets one of those creepy vials of ash around
What
their
if your
neck
son wants one?
because I don't want him to have my vagina hanging around his
I
neck.
agree. I don't want my ashes
No.
hanging around nobody's
Look, if you
neck.
want to keep
But
me,
it's not
keep
for
me.
you. It would be for him.
It's my wishes. And my wishes for my ashes are either keep me all together in one place or dump me. And if you're going to dump me, there's 3 places and that's it. Or just dump me out on the strip or something.
They Mr. Toxie was cleaning out a storage unit, and he found someone's ashes.
Oh God, what do you
And
do
so-
with that?
Well, it had the card on it for the place that did it.
Oh, the funeral home.
Yeah, but can you imagine losing
They
a
probably didn't
storage
care.
unit?
Why do you think
I
they
would
were storing
family
it?
haunt
member.
your ass forever.
You know what? So what?
I would
I've
haunt
got-
your ass
I mean,
forever.
so what?
I'm like, if you're going to
That
take...
person ain't there. I mean, what's the
But
big
then, no,
fucking
but
deal?
somebody, obviously, they went through the effort of getting the ashes.
Obviously,
but
it
didn't
wasn't
care
that
enough
important.
about
Yeah,
them
exactly.
To,
I had a
know.
dog put down almost... had him put down in 1999. I still have his fucking ashes. So any one of my fucking family members loses my ashes, I'm haunting your ass until the day you die,
I don't care what you do with me after I'm
and then I'm
gone.
gonna haunt you in the next life. Fuckers, don't you dare lose my ashes.
Don't
Why?
lose my
Why don't
ashes.
you want to lose your? I mean, I
Look,
mean,
if they're gonna go through the responsibility and say, I want to keep them, instead of...
well, that's because they don't want to pay the extra money for a burial plot. So their only option in this world is to burn you.
No, I don't want them to bury me.
I
want
know
to
that,
be burned.
but what I'm saying is that if they're gonna, you said if they're gonna go through the effort to burn you, you want them to make sure they
No,
keep track of you.
that's not, you didn't let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
If you're going to go through the effort of keeping me, keep me. Don't lose me by forgetting to pay for your fucking storage unit. If you're going to go through the effort of keeping my immortal remains with you, then keep them with you. Don't lose them in your fucking storage unit.
But what I'm saying is, families don't have an option sometimes. They're like, okay, here's your ashes.
And then hold on to them.
But see, I don't care. I mean, I'm just saying, to me, it's like, it's not you. And the way I think, I don't want to look at an urn of my mother. I'd rather look at a picture of my mother. I would rather look at cards that she has written me.
That's why I've said either keep me or dump me.
Yeah, see, I would rather be
but-
dumped.
Either keep me or dump me, but if you decide to keep me, you better
Not
fucking
lose
keep
you.
me.
I got you. Don't
Don't
lose you.
fucking lose me.
I understand.
Don't go, oh, Mom, I can't part with you, and then put me in a storage unit and not pay for the fucking storage unit, because I will haunt your ass.
Makes me wonder how close the relative person was to
know.
the family that did that.
Like, when I'm packing to move somewhere, the first thing I pack is the dog's ashes, and I make sure I
Where
have
is that
them
in your home?
in my room,
Okay.
upstairs in a very nice...
And what does that do for you when
It's
you
a
look at it? I'm just
beautiful
curious
tin.
because to me it's like nothing. I believe in life after death, so to me what here is on this earth is not
It's-
relevant.
I unfortunately did not... I only have one photo of him.
Okay.
And he was hands down the best dog I've ever owned in my entire life. And like if I were to have a soulmate in a 4-legged animal, he was it.
Okay.
Caesar was the most amazing dog I've ever had, and I don't have photos of him. I have one photo, and that fucking disappeared, and I think one of my cunt sisters has it. And that dog was my dog, not their dog.
Right.
You have more than one sister?
I do.
I
One
thought you
lives
just
here,
had the
one
one.
doesn't.
No, I have a crazy sister in Minnesota who literally lives in a van down by the river.
Oh,
That is
I
a
thought the
real
one that
sister.
lives
She's a
with you
hippie.
is the crazy sister.
Oh no, there's two crazy
There's
sisters.
two crazy sisters. No, I have a hippie sister who lives in Minnesota, literally in a van down by a river on someone's farm, and then I have the one that lives with me. She stores her cats there, and I
She's
feed
the
and
oldest
water
of the
them.
three
Yeah, I'm the
sisters.
oldest of 3.
Okay. I'm the oldest of 3 also.
I'm the oldest of 3 too.
It's redonkulous, really. But anyway, so yeah, so it's my reminder of him. That's my
gotcha.
photo of him because he's in a not necessarily a custom tin, but I picked this out for him. He's specifically for him. It's him. Then I have one of my kitties too. So
What was the name of the guest last week?
Andy Martello,
Martello.
Tello.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Whoa.
You have to excuse me.
Whoa. So I watch no news anymore. I know there's a big uproar about another young black gentleman getting shot by police.
I'm kind of at the point where young black gentlemen get shot by the police all the time, people. Whether they had their hands in the air or not, at this point, I don't care.
Don't you think it matters if he had his hands in the air or
No.
not, though?
I don't care. I'm
Well,
really...
I know you don't care, but to a police, okay, so you're in a store and the police come in and said, put your hand, and he put his hands up, and then the police shot anyway. You don't care
wrong.
about that.
No, that's wrong. I don't want to hear about it on the news anymore because it happens every single day. And it happens more than once every single day.
I don't know that it happens every single day that a cop does it.
Yes, it does.
That's why
a cop shoots someone in this country every single day. And the problem is with the police. The problem is not about race. The problem is not about creed or color or size or hands in the air or hands down. The problem is that the police believe they are above the law and they can do whatever the fuck they want. There will be no punishment. Even if they rule this a bad shooting, the only thing that will happen is he gets fired. He's not going to go to jail. He's not going to spend the rest of his life in prison if it was somebody else.
Maybe this is the case that makes it different.
It won't.
But you don't feel, because I always see whenever something happens, I see all the police haters out there. Just like in any profession.
Well, I'm not a police hater. I love the police. Unfortunately, the police have
a few bad people, and it gives them all the reputation.
Mm-hmm.
But there are all these situations. We had one here, separate, and I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he was at Costco. He was at Costco in Summerlin. He was acting erratic. People around had said they saw him, throwing things in this, like he was digging through for something and throwing it around, and he had a concealed weapon that he was carrying, and that I believe they told him, because Costco has it, that you cannot have a weapon in their store,
Mm-hmm.
and they have it posted, and that the police ended up being called. Now, part of the argument was the police didn't even really need to be called. It was an overzealous employee who called the police saying he's acting erratic. He's, there's calls with him talking about, talking low and following him around the store like he's a detective. But the bottom line is when he came out, he didn't follow the proper procedures for what you're supposed to do when you're carrying concealed if approached by an officer. And I guess there's, certain things you're supposed to
put your hands on your head. I have a concealed weapon.
Exactly,
it's in this place.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so when he went to reach, they shot him. And so it was a whole big ordeal. You have to remember, even and I don't know all of the specifics with this one, but police officers are still human. And I think people tend to forget that in the moment, in that split second, no matter how much training you have, many officers never even have to discharge their weapon in this type of situation.
In their entire career, they never have to, right?
So they have to make that, split second decision. What do we do? If they legitimately feel that they're going to harm others, not even just them, but others, who are around or at the store or wherever in this case, they just have a split second to make that decision. And I think there could be a lot that maybe, yes, it was the wrong decision, but
more often than not, however,
after the fact,
when we have these incidents where the police shoot someone, most of the time the police find a way to make it a good shot because it's like, oh, I thought he had a gun, like he was reaching for, and I thought he had a gun. Except that the belief that someone has a gun, in my opinion, is not enough to shoot them. I believe you need to be able to identify the weapon and that there is going to be deadly force
involved. By the time you get a chance to identify the weapon, you're dead.
Right.
You are dead.
Not necessarily.
Yes, it's true. That fast can happen. I mean, I understand. I think they should see the weapon. I agree with that. But identify the weapon. I think you're asking them for the way to
identify. Oh, it's a Ruger 38.
Well,
that's blah blah blah.
Said. Identify the weapon.
Identify that it is a weapon.
Okay. Well, that's the same as seeing the weapon. So, yeah. But you know what? I tend to believe that most police officers are good. Like they're not. We don't
I'm not
have
saying cops
all
are bad
black.
people. They're just unfortunately trained that they are the superior of the law. Like they're judge, jury, and executioner when they're in the field. And there are ways to train. When I was trained to hit center mass if that was my only option. Like, you can shoot a body part that is not going to kill them. It is entirely possible. And every single officer on the force should be able to be that good of a shot that instead of shooting them in the center mass in their chest where they're going to kill them, they should be able to shoot them in the knee or the lower leg or the shoulder or some place where it's not going to kill them instead of in center mass. Center mass is the easiest way because you can hit the broadside of a barn, but if you're going to go out with a deadly weapon on you, you need to be able to accurately use that deadly weapon, which means you should be able to use it as a form of non-deadly stoppage.
Well, yeah,
And
that's
the
not gonna
cops,
happen,
no,
yeah.
the cops are told shoot first and ask questions later. That is their training. Shoot first and ask questions later. Don't worry, we'll make it good
How
for
do you
you.
know that's their training?
Because I've known cops. Because I've known a lot of cops who have said, you know, if you know the shooting is bad, you don't say shit because you'll get killed. Like, you don't turn on your cop friends. Shoot first, ask questions later because, you know, it's better for the cop
But
because
is that
we
a
can
taught
always
rule,
make
or
it.
is that is it a taught rule, or is it
Does
one
it
of
matter?
those cop
Does it matter?
brotherly
It
rules?
does.
It does
Because
matter.
Is
It
it
does
governed by
matter.
the police?
Yeah,
Like,
are they
is
condoning
everyone
it?
trained
Is it
in this
condoning it?
manner, or
But if the police aren't actively trying to keep this from happening, then they are in the wrong. Like, if you know someone is going to go kill someone and you don't do something to stop it, you are an accessory to murder.
You're assuming that every cop that leaves their that goes out on patrol every day is going out with the assumption they're going to shoot.
No, I'm not saying that at all. If they're going to pull their weapon, they're going to shoot their weapon most of the time. Most of the time, if they pull their gun, they're going to use it.
They could use it as a way of put your hands up and let me cuff you. I'm sure that that's done a whole lot more than let me fire my weapon.
Okay, fine.
I mean, let's think about it. Let's think about it logically. I'm sure several times during a day they are in a position that they have to cuff somebody or make somebody, stop what they're doing or whatever.
Do they need to draw their weapon for that?
Well, maybe not, and I'm sure that they don't. But if they do, that
But how
doesn't
many-
mean that they're going to use their weapon if
how
they
many
draw
times
it.
how many times does a cop pull somebody over for just something very simple like your taillights out, you were speeding, and they end up getting shot because, you know, the
person
person in the car.
Does that then mean that every single time a cop pulls somebody over, he has to pull his weapon out and point it at them?
No.
But they don't. I've been pulled over many times. They don't do that.
No, they don't. And that's the risk the police officers take when they take this position. They understand. If I become a cop, I'm most likely going to die before I'm 50 from a gunshot wound.
That's not true.
It is true.
It is not true. Show me the statistic. Look it up. Because the thing is that rarely do cops ever fire their weapons. So the opportunity. How many cops in reality die before they're 50 of a gunshot wound in comparison to how many cops there are? The percentage is so teeny weeny.
So if very few cops ever have to pull and use their weapon, why is it then every day we are hearing about cops who pull and use their weapon on someone and everyone's pissed off because it was an innocent that got shot?
Well, this one, let me just share this because this is what started it. And again, I've heard a lot, and then there's a lot going on in Ferguson, and I've watched, a little on CNN here. As far as the exact timelines, I know that there's a lot of conflicting reports. This one's from a national newspaper, and it has, on the day that it happened, officers respond to a call of a sick person. Another call comes in about a robbery at a convenience store. Dispatcher gives a description of the robber, says the suspect is walking towards the Quick Trip convenience store. And actually, I did see online about, I saw the video of him
Robbing
where
the store.
he robbed it and then, went out and,
I saw that
shoved
too.
someone. The officer encounters Michael Brown and a friend as they walk down the street. Brown is shot to death as a result of the encounter. A second officer arrives at the scene, followed by a supervisor 1 minute later. An ambulance responding to an earlier call drives by and responds to assist him. This says Michael Brown was unarmed. Bummer says the police chief said Brown physically assaulted the officer, and during the struggle between the two, Brown reached for the officer's gun. One shot was fired in the car, followed by other gunshots outside the car.
So the guy
And then
went for
there's
the
his
cop's
family
gun and the cop shot
attorney.
him. I think that's perfectly legit, a little bit reason for a cop to shoot him.
Except that all the other eyewitnesses say that he had his hands in the air when he was shot.
Well, yeah,
But then some had also recanted. I do remember reading
Yeah, I do
that
that.
some
I
had
do that too.
recanted on what they were saying.
So we're at the point where there's no physical evidence over who was right and who was wrong.
Right. But it's just the same thing with Trayvon Martin.
Yeah, there's no.
There was no, I mean, between what was heard, the recordings of the shouting outside, the calls and everything, really the only person who really knows what happened
is Trayvon Martin.
Well, he's
Zimmerman.
Dead, is Zimmerman.
Right, but you know what? I'm going to tell you, I watched that trial every day. That's back when I was home every day, all day.
Police officer,
no,
but still.
But you know what? The jury made the right decision on that based on.
There's no evidence to prove that he was right or wrong.
Right. And that he wasn't in self-defense, and the defensive wounds that he had. Anyway, like I said, I watched that trial in and out. I read everything about it later. I watched all the recaps on the talk shows after, and the jury made the right decision there. Now, Zimmerman's got out and he's done some stupid fucking things and he got back in jail and whatever stupid shit he did. But for that,
now still?
I don't know if he's there right now, but I know he did go back.
Yeah,
and,
he was like with his gun.
Yes, and his ex-wife. Yeah, some stupid shit. So, but anyway, on that case, they did the right decision.
All I'm saying is that innocent people being shot by the police happens every single day. Every single day,
a lot. Yes.
Somebody gets shot by the police, and most of the time it's not a clean shot. But the only thing that happens, how many times have you heard of a police officer who made a shot in the line of duty? How many times has he gone to jail?
Find the statistic, look it up, and say number of annual number of people shot by cops each year, or
number of police
shootings.
No, my point is not how many people are shot. Annual number of police imprisoned.
No, that wasn't you said.
That is what I said.
Well, no,
the number of cops who go to jail because they shot someone
but I
is
want to know
very
what
small.
the number is, because you said
it's different.
That,
it's not as if they're a doctor and they're shooting someone. They're a police officer.
Right, exactly. So I just want to know how many times a year. You said that every day people in this country are getting shot by police. I'd like to know how many a day there are.
Nearly 2 times a week in the United States, a white police officer killed a black person during
That's only one statistic.
Ending in 2012.
I don't want to know what color. I want to know how many police shoot people.
I Googled this. So I'm saying, on average, there were 96 such incidents among at least 400 police killings each year.
Okay, so
that's once a day.
Yeah, one a day. You're right.
Okay, the number appeared to show that the shooting of a black teenager in Ferguson last Saturday was not an isolated event in American policing. The reports show that this all does go into race.
Okay. Then I want to know, out of those 400 and some, how many officers are prosecuted for it?
How many police officers?
Annually for shooting.
Prosecuted.
Now also think about, so if there's 400 police shootings a year.
That's a little over one a day.
Versus how many people there are in the United States.
Exactly, and how many cops there are. Exactly. That's what I was saying to her. It's such a minute amount that you can't blanket a statement that says
but it's
every time
every day.
But that's okay. I mean, do you know how many people there are? I'm sure that it needs to happen sometimes.
We have other things that happen every day, but because it's really brought to light because of a situation like what just happened. There's other things that happen all the time. For example, people commit suicide all the time based off of being very depressed. It happens all the time.
It happens all the time.
A big deal because, with
Robin Williams, right? Because it was Robin Williams,
UK.
right?
Nobody cares about the UK.
No, but you know what? I mean, we were talking about. You had said that. Every time a cop pulls his weapon, he's going to shoot. And that's
no, I did
true.
not say that.
Yes, you did.
That is not what I said. I said every time a cop pulls a weapon, he is more likely to shoot somebody. That is what I said.
Because you said every time a cop pulls his weapon, he's going to shoot.
That's not what I said.
So this also talks about excessive force.
Let's read
it also talks about...
I didn't say that.
And also,
Yes, she did. Run it back.
I will.
Okay.
Absolutely.
so
You did not say most likely. That never came out of your mouth.
Whatever.
So how many out of the 400 are in prison? But you know what? I think that if a cop does shoot somebody under wrong circumstances, they
There is
should
no
go to
national
cop.
database for this type of information,
Yeah,
and
well,
that is so crazy.
That is crazy. I agree with that.
So,
okay.
so
So the list below are incomplete, but the annual average number of justifiable homicides is estimated to be near 400.
Justified.
that's justifiable. That means there are more than that. That's just the ones that they've deemed as good shootings.
This is a different.
It's a
I mean,
different
this is
study.
Wikipedia.
It's not the same one. Yeah, it's not the same
Yeah.
study. But so what? When you talk about 400 a year, and the amount of people in this country and the amount of cops in this country,
Then let's just let 'em-
the percentage is like 0.000 something. I mean, it's like so
then
little.
fuck it. Let's let the police shoot whoever they want, whenever they
But
want.
nobody's
If the
saying
percentage
that.
is-
Nobody's
If the
saying
percentage
that.
is going to be so small that it's irrelevant, then it's irrelevant.
It's not irrelevant. I mean,
No,
there,
it's not
you know, in
irrelevant.
many cases there are other ways. Like for example, there was a homeless man who was shot. They thought he was this was here. They thought he was coming at them with a knife,
Right.
and it wasn't a knife. But in that split second, they had to make that decision. He was coming at them. Now, I will tell you that if my daughter were standing there and this man was there with, you know, a gun or anyone, a man, a woman, or whatever, and that somebody had to make a split second decision in regards to saving my daughter's life, I would say shoot the motherfucker.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I'd have
If
no
there is
hesitation on
if there
that.
is imminent danger, if you know he's going to
But
cause
you-
bodily
At
harm,
the time, you absolutely have to know it's going to be
Yeah,
too late.
you
Like,
gotta allow
let
a
me-
human being.
Okay, let me
even
look
though
at
they're-
how many law officers are killed a year. Let's look at that. How many police officers are killed a year out of curiosity in the line of duty?
Right. I bet
By
it's more
people
than that
because there
400.
was, you know, even the ones that we have in CCs, they didn't even have enough time.
right?
Well,
to-
and
to
you can't
react.
expect a human being. Now, of course, a police officer's been trained, but they're standing, and they're in a life or death situation, just like that person whoever committed the crime is in a life or death situation. I hope the cop reacts first.
In the last 10 years, 1,501. That means only 150 a year are killed in the line of duty.
Okay.
So we're talking a third of the number of people killed in a police.
But you know what? They're the police officers. There should be more of them aggressing people than more people aggressing the police officers. They are the you know, the authority or the law. So yeah, that number should be higher than if you had more police officers being killed than the number of people that police officers shoot in the line of duty. You have a problem with your police forces. I mean, come on.
I'm just saying that there should not be a death every single day, a justifiable death every single day at the hands of a law
But-
officer.
Right,
you're
but there
talking about
also
how
shouldn't
many-
be criminal. I mean,
Yes,
but
No,
people
there
also
shouldn't
are
be-
supposed to
No, you're right.
steal and lie
And when you think
murder
about the
people
number
and
of
rape
crimes
people.
that are committed every day, the number of crimes committed every day across this country, millions and millions and millions of people, millions of cops, and it's only one a day, I think that's phenomenal.
I think it's too much.
I don't think you'd ever. I think that number in realistic, when you think about all the cities and all the crimes being committed, I'm shocked it's not higher.
Well,
Toxie, you?
400 is just
I'm
the
shocked it's not higher as well.
the number.
Because
that
if we
400
let's
is
see
the
how
only
many arrests are made a year.
justifiable homicide.
Right, but let's see how many we should see how many arrests are made a year versus them having a situation where
it's justifiable homicide, right.
justifiable homicide, to where
So
they
check
actually
and see
have
how
to
many
resort to that.
arrests are made in the United States every year. That's phenomenal. I mean, I'm sure it's like unbelievable. Figure the percentage when you're talking 400.
Yeah.
From that.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
it's just unreal. It's crazy. I'm glad there's only 158 officers killed a year. I mean, if we had more officers than that being killed a year in the line of duty, then and more officers being killed than criminals, that's a problem.
Nationwide, this is right off the FBI.gov website. Nationwide, law enforcement made an estimated 13,120,947 arrests just for 1 year, 2010. Of these arrests, it was over 500,000 that were for violent crimes.
So how many? 1 million what?
13 million.
13 million.
13
Over
million,
13 million
and we
arrested
have
in 2010.
400
So
shootings.
13 million, and only 500,000 of those for violent crimes.
Doesn't
Yes,
matter. It's
550,000.
still arrests. That's what we said. So go ahead, do the violent crimes, because that's the ones they would probably pull a gun on. So the number is so marginal. I just don't think we can blanket statements
And
about
violent
all the
crime,
police.
just so you know, violent crime just includes murder, non-negligent manslaughter, forcible rape, robbery, and aggravated assaults.
So
Okay. So the thing is, to blanket statement that all cops shoot to kill, I think is a
that's
not a
what
good.
they're taught, is to shoot to kill. If you draw your weapon to shoot somebody, you better kill them.
Well,
you got to hit center mass, which is going to kill them.
You know what? It's either that or be killed themselves sometimes, I'm sure.
Well,
and it's so little. So that's telling us that these cops are trained to have some kind of brains, when in 13 million arrests, only 400.
This is from the Police Firearms
Well, they're not arresting the people they kill.
That's true. So
hold on one moment. I just had it.
But 400 is just the justifiable homicides. It's not the number of homicides they commit every year. It's just the number they're reporting as justifiable. That's what the...
But there's only 158 cops that go to jail each year. So those are the ones...
No, they're not going to jail. They're getting shot.
Okay, how many are being...
None.
There is
no database.
No info.
They will not report...
That doesn't mean it won't happen. It just
and I've seen cops go to jail before. Let's talk about Rodney King. Those cops went to jail over that. So it's not like cops don't go to jail. I've seen several what do you call it, court cases where the cops have been prosecuted.
I'd like to see if they would ever report the numbers, and they never will, because it's a number they don't want to report.
This is off of, let me tell you again what this is. The Police Firearms Officers Association, and it's shooting to wound. Do police officers really have to kill people when they shoot them? Couldn't they be more humane and just aim for arms or legs? As reported in Force Science News, New York State Senator blah 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 pondered these questions in 2006 and concluded that officers were needlessly killing suspects. In response, he introduced legislation that would require officers to try to shoot offenders' limbs instead of targeting locations that were more likely to stop the threat but could also result in death. Let's see here. So they have multiple bills that have been enforced, that have been introduced as a minimum force bill that would require officers to shoot a suspect in the arm or legs and to use firearms with the intent to stop rather than to kill.
They're being talked about. They're not actually laws yet.
Well, it was in 2006.
I don't think a police officer goes out with the idea like...
No, I don't think they do either. No, I don't think they do either.
Because
but
when they do, it's a very mental thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
No, it is. I'm not saying it's not a big deal. I'm saying that the training that they receive, and then the internal mentality that police officers have within their units, is that if you draw your weapon and you pull the trigger, you better aim to kill. You better hit them.
I don't think you can say that unless you've been in a police training class. I don't think you can say that's what they're taught unless we've gone through the class.
Okay, I know how they're taught to fire.
Yeah,
I've been through that.
So
you're taught to kill. You're taught to aim for center mass, and that is a killing shot.
So this is very
not in the police force. You were trained for
center
the
mass.
military.
Center mass is your chest.
I know what it is.
That will kill you.
You were trained in the military.
The police
are not trained by the police.
The handgun training that I receive is the same as police.
Okay, right here. This is off Huffington Post. It's not.
Right.
Some
Huffington Post
association
is good,
website. Members of law enforcement are legally permitted to use deadly force when they believe that a suspect poses a threat of serious physical harm, either to the officers or to others. In such cases, most officers are trained to shoot at a target center mass where there is a higher concentration of vital areas and major blood vessels, according to a report by the Force Science Institute, a research center that examines deadly force encounters.
Okay.
John Furman, but they're not taught to shoot to
kill.
They have to, when it's necessary, they have to.
So are they now
John Furman, Director of Research Programs and Professional Services at the blah, 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 it's a big fancy thing, said that shooting at a limb is impractical. Aiming at arms or legs, which move fast, could result in a misfire that fails to neutralize the threat and may even hit the wrong person, he said. The likelihood of success is low. That's a Hollywood myth, Furman told the Huffington Post when asked why police officers don't tend to shoot people in the limbs. In all policy everywhere on force in any law enforcement agency in America, the bottom line statement should read, if you feel sufficiently threatened or if lives are threatened and you feel the need that you must use lethal force, then you must take out the suspect.
And I think
And officers are trained to assess the risks before firing, but often a situation escalates quickly.
So they're not trained shoot to kill. If you got to shoot,
They're
you better
supposed
kill.
to assess the situation, and then
make
if
the
they have
decision
to,
from
then
there.
yes.
Then they have
they
to shoot.
make the decision from there.
From there, gotcha.
But that makes sense as to why when everyone says, why don't they just shoot a limb?
Yeah, it does make sense that it's a smaller target to hit, so you could very well miss. I understand that. Yeah, and if you miss, then that guy's off on his feet running, and then you really got a problem.
So then if the percentage of people being shot by the cops is so small, then I'm tired of hearing about it on the news. If it's a small percentage...
Well, I think the reason the news blow it up, they sensationalize it, and in this case, it's racial.
There's more important things happening in the world than one cop shooting a teenager who stole something.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
I'm tired of hearing about it. It doesn't affect our world or global economy, and nothing, I'm telling you, nothing these people in Ferguson, Missouri do is going to change the way their police officers are trained. Nothing.
Well, I think that's narrow-minded, because I think that squeaky wheels get oiled, and if there's a problem in the training, then it should be evaluated. Now, maybe
I'm just reading more. There's a debate again over deadly force. So it is
right. So it is bringing up a conversation, and it's making the police force there look at their policies.
The shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, has reopened the debate over law enforcement protocol and the use of deadly force.
Okay, good.
And the shooting of 3 people. There was the vet who was having a mental breakdown who got shot in an apartment complex a couple of years ago. That reopened the debate on deadly force here in Vegas. And you know what changed? Nothing.
But to assume that that's always going to be the case, that nothing's ever going to change, is very narrow-minded.
Nothing. But the thing is, nothing has ever changed.
You don't know that. Yes, check all the laws in the country. Make sure that none of the laws have changed in any state because somebody got shot. So you can't make these blanket statements like this.
So if it changes in only 1% of the cases,
it's changed in 1%, and that gives hope that if that situation turns up in another jurisdiction, that possibly could be changed again. I mean, you can't say that.
I think a lot of statement that. Just going back into Ferguson, and as I'm reading through, a lot of it and why it is so big right now is because it does come down to race. For example, blacks in Ferguson are twice as likely to be stopped by police as whites, according to an annual report on racial profiling by the Missouri Attorney General.
Well, let's look at the percentage of blacks versus whites. If there's twice as many blacks, if there's twice as many blacks on the street as there are whites in the police force, then yes, twice as many black people are going to be pulled over by white people.
Exactly. I mean, that's a crazy statistic because you can't.
Yeah,
you know, the statistics doesn't have the same amount of blacks to whites. Yeah,
that statistic that twice as many black people are pulled over by white people is because there are twice as many black people on the street committing crimes. Twice as many white cops,
probably.
And half as many white cops as there are black cops.
Yeah, that's kind of a crazy statistic.
It's a ridiculous statistic to make. The racial thing happening here is not because it's race. It's because the odds are it's going to be a white cop. If it had been a black cop and he had shot the kid, we wouldn't even be hearing about it.
It'd be a whole different story. You're right.
We wouldn't even made the news.
I don't know if it wouldn't have been heard about because I think the family would have still made a fuss, but it would have been a totally different approach.
It'd have been local news, maybe statewide at best. We wouldn't even know about it on the West Coast if it had been a black cop. And that percentage that percentage is thrown around a lot. Oh, twice as many black people twice as many black people in jails. That's because unfortunately, there are twice as many black people committing crimes as there are white people. Well, and the thing
is that then you have to take that a step further. Like, it's a lot of the economic situation,
that's right.
The employment situation.
It has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with the economic standard of living. If you look at the percentage of black people in poverty being arrested and the percentage of white people in poverty being arrested, I bet you that percentage is the same. There just unfortunately happens to be less white people living in poverty.
Right.
So if 2% of white people are being arrested and 2% of black people are being arrested, that 2% of white people is like we'll just round it up and make it an easy number. It's 50 people, whereas the 2% of black people is going to be 100 people.
Right.
And
but it's all relevant to what's going on.
It's all relevant.
Yeah, it's all
At this point, like I said, if the percentage of people being shot is 0.0001 people in the whole fucking country, then I don't want to hear about it anymore. Do you know why? Because I want to know what the fuck we're going to do about getting our troops home.
Right.
That's what I want to see on the news.
That makes sense.
I want to know what we're going to do about, the economic poverty that our country is in right now. How are we going to fix this? How are we going to lessen our debt? Because every year we keep voting to, hey, increase our spending limit. That's ridiculous. Like, how are we going to fix that? How are we going to fix the fact that I, as an American person who graduated high school, who makes twice what the unemployment is, or twice what the minimum wage is, still can't afford to live on my own in this city? Like, I can't afford to live on my own in some of the smaller cities, and I make twice what minimum wage is. How are we going to fix that? Like, those are the things I want to hear about. I don't give a rat's ass about some kid who got shot in Missouri. You know why? Doesn't affect me.
But that's you. Some people are very passionate about it, so they've got to let people know if it's something very passionate that something's going on in the country. I mean, do I think they go overboard? Yeah. Do I think this thing is fueled by race? Absolutely.
Should it be? No.
Well, and that's never going to change, though. Unfortunately, I'm one of these people that would like to, wipe race out and everybody love everybody, but it's not going to happen, and it's not going to happen in our lifetime.
We don't want to wipe race out.
No. What I meant though is
like racism.
Racism. Yes, okay. Exactly. I'm sorry. No, you know what I mean. Like,
and racism is a two-way street. Like, all the black people are mad at all the white people in Missouri right now because the statistical cop, the cop who was most likely to show up on scene, shot the kid who was most likely to cause a problem.
The kid shouldn't have caused the problem.
No, the kid shouldn't have caused the problem, but all the black people are mad at all the fucking white people who are keeping us down. That fucking white guy's going out on the street risking his life every day to make sure that you can go to the store without getting robbed by some big black guy. Like, if that's what we're going to take it out on, the racism goes both ways. Well, I hate Whitey because Whitey keep me down. Well, you know what? I don't keep you down in any way, shape, fashion, or form. And so for you to hate me because I'm white is just as racist for somebody else to hate somebody because he's black.
You're right.
But it's not acceptable for me to be upset because I'm racially profiled by black people.
Wait, say that again?
It's not acceptable for me to be upset because I'm racially profiled by black people. Because they see a white girl with a job and they assume I'm, living in some big house or making a shit ton of money or doing whatever it is I'm doing or have whatever. I've had it happen. I've had black people be racist towards me. I can't be upset about it because I'm white.
No, that's true. You can't be upset because you're white.
I can't be upset that I have been verbally racist against. I don't know what term you want to use it for. I have had black people attack me racially for being white.
For us to sit here and say it.
No, it is.
Say that we were,
Well, and I guess I have problem with blanket statements like black people do this, white people do this, cops do this. No, it's a selection of everyone. It's bad or good people in those groups.
Yeah,
but we
white
can't
people
blanket a whole.
Yeah. White cops shoot black kids.
Because it's real. I mean, we don't. Yes, maybe you've had on occasion where you felt it from a different race, but you have to understand that for somebody who lives it every day, that it does happen. That some people do get pulled over just because
racism does happen.
Just because of the color of their skin.
Yeah. Absolutely, it does.
Just because of the color of their skin. They do get turned down for jobs just because of the color of their skin.
And it's wrong.
So it's easy for us to say that, hey, people were, it goes both ways and people are prejudiced against us. But, we never had to walk in their shoes to know
but
this happened to us once or twice.
But you've had to live life as a fat woman. and so have I, and so is Sierra. So there's a whole different prejudice that goes
Right,
on
there is,
along
there
with
is,
that.
but I
And
don't
yes,
think
we have been scrutinized for jobs or
I
positions or
understand,
that
but I
kind
don't
of
think
stuff.
you can I get where you can equate it to race, but again, this is something that, for example, for me, I can choose to not be fat if I wanted to and could follow through with it. Nobody can say I'm going to
Oh,
choose
change
to
their
not be
colors,
black.
color their skin. You're
You
right.
know,
Yes, you're right.
just like somebody who's gay can't say I'm going to choose to be straight, so I'm not prejudiced against.
Right.
You know, so they're in a, that's it. It's the life they're living, and we can say the reverse, and we can say, hey, you know, people have said this to me because I have a job and this and that, but we haven't walked in their shoes.
But we
So,
can't make everything about race because it's not always about race.
right, and
But
everybody doesn't, but the reality is it happens.
Right.
it
It
does happen, but I don't
happens.
think it happens nearly as much as the news reports it. Like, I don't think this incident in Missouri is anything to do with race.
For example, I worked for a company once that would not let me send black people to Henderson.
Wow. Now that I would report to
Yeah.
Equal Opportunity Board.
Me too.
Like,
NAACP
that-
went
that-
fast.
Yeah, that would get
And
reported.
they would never
Sorry.
say, do not, the words, do not send black people there. They would point to, I had a phone, my telephone was black with a black cord. And they were like, she can't go there because, and point to it.
Really?
Point to the color.
See, that's just
and
so
then,
wrong.
no, you can't send them because of this. Or I had a woman, she was very beautiful. Her hair was, you know, gorgeous, and I spent a lot more money on her hair than my own. But because it
They
was,
usually do.
yeah, but because it was, like it was like rose and then
Like corn
like
rolled in some
yeah,
way.
yeah, but then it was like all beautiful out there, and because they didn't feel it was acceptable hairstyle, I couldn't